Morning, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to this presentation, our virtual tour, as it were, of MIC St. Patrick's Campus Thurles. Our programs are all devoted to you becoming a post-primary teacher within a 4-year time frame. And we are very conscious that you are the program. And while I'll talk today about the program, the real missing component in all of this is the students that you would have met on campus who could tell you the story far better than I can. And what I would like to think is that those students would talk about the program being them, and in turn that when your turn comes, that you very much are at the heart and center of our program. So from our perspective, what I would be saying to you today is that we're about people. We believe in you. We purposely seek to help you to have a sense of belonging, and it's really about becoming the teacher you want to be. Now, we'll challenge you in turn maybe to become the teacher we think you need to be. In pre-COVID times, we would do a lot of collaborative work, working together, working individually, and so forth, and we would be learning about teaching, and we would have that lovely blend of we're united but we're not uniform. Just like those stone walls in the west of Ireland, they're all held together because they are different. And what unites us is our desire to become teachers, but we're also very conscious that what also unites us is our individuality. And I think that's an important point. And be it currently, as you can see from the slide, be it through engagement online and so forth, or face-to-face, it's still the same. It's all about believing, belonging, and becoming. Our 160 first years that I had this morning online very much are aware of our efforts to recognize your individuality and also stretch you. We won't break you, but we will stretch you. There's not much point in coming to college unless there's a challenge. And the challenge is for you to be who you were always meant to be. And in that vein, we will be supporting you as best we can. And we'll also be challenging you. And in turn, we would invite you to challenge us so that we can be better at what we do as well. So we have 6 undergraduate honours degree programs that are recognised by the Teaching Council, and it's a 4-year program. So one of the key advantages there is a time advantage, in that rather than doing a BA and then subsequently doing a PME, you actually get the 2 for the price of 1. Across the 4 years, you get your BA qualification in your chosen 2 subjects, and you also get your qualification as a teacher recognised by the Teaching Council, and one that allows you to travel throughout the world. So keep that in mind as well. The international dimension is important to us also, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a moment as well. So last year, just so that you get a ballpark figure and a feel for where we're going, we have 160 first-year students with us this year, and they operate across 6 programs. We have a BA in education in a range of couplets: business and accounting, business religion, Gaeilge business, Gaeilge religion, Gaeilge mathematics, business and mathematics. And you can see the points that came in last year, just so that you get a broad understanding of where we're at. And again, the point here is that you are central to our program. So we have education, we have subject 1, subject 2, and school placement. So you choose your 2 subjects, and it's important that you choose subjects that you're interested in, that you're passionate about, that mean a lot to you, because there's not much point in teaching subjects that you're not passionate about. Students will know very quickly. You know yourself from being in school, who's the good teacher, who's the one that's passionate about their subject, and indeed inspires you in turn to be passionate about their subject. And we also have lectures in education, and school placement is another quarter of our program, and I can talk a little bit about school placement as well in this presentation. So the interplay then is school, campus, and you. And here on the left, we've got students who are team teaching, actually, again, pre-COVID picture, and hopefully it'll be the image that will be normal for you when you come on campus to us, where we will be supporting each other in learning how to teach and we'll practice our teaching, and we'll have fun, and we'll make mistakes, and you know, it's like learning to ride a bike. You'll have grazed knees some days, you'll have other days when you're flying it, and everything in between. And that's the spirit in which we operate. We have students coming from the four corners of Ireland, from Donegal to Dungarvan, from everywhere. And that's a lovely dimension to our program as well, is that you get to meet people from different places. And indeed, the international dimension is also another opportunity there to meet people. So our focus is very much on quality, and that you would graduate as a teacher of quality, that you would graduate with a key understanding of what teaching, learning and assessment actually means, that you would be able to focus on your personal, professional and pedagogical development. And basically the invitation in becoming a teacher is to become the teacher that you have in your head. So I really hope that you have at least one teacher in your head who has made a difference in your life. If you haven't told that teacher, I would invite you to consider telling them. But whatever you do, hold on to that teacher in your head, and then have a conversation with yourself around, well, could I be that teacher? And when you join us on campus, we might even have a conversation around, could you be even better than that teacher? And maybe not. I know in my head, I have a teacher from my time in primary school. And by the way, I initially wanted to be a primary teacher, but that didn't come to pass. And as my mother says, what's for you won't go past you. And it may well be that post-primary is for you. But just to go back to that point, that teacher, I'm still in touch with that teacher, and he is a wonderful mentor to me. And I think it's an incredible opportunity to make that difference in somebody's lives. And imagine making that difference in so many lives over a career as a teacher. And that's the invitation, I guess, today, to consider us, to consider MIC Thurles as the place for you. So we're a growing campus, and we have currently 434 students at undergraduate level. We have a growing postgraduate program as well, which isn't of interest to you today, but just so that you know that there are trajectories afterwards as well. And I think it's important to honour the MIC logo and what MIC represents. Mary I is held in high regard nationally and internationally, and one of the reasons I took up this role was because of the high regard and respect that Mary I is held in by so many people, both nationally and internationally. And just to continue on this slide, we will also assist you focus on differentiation and collaboration. It's very, very important in the modern world that we learn how to collaborate. It's very important that we focus on the impact of that collaboration. I think we also are well aware that being a teacher now is about being an inclusive teacher. We're there to teach everybody, not just some. And therefore we need to reflect. And why would you need to reflect? Well, you need to reflect on any activity that involves somebody else, because you always have to ensure that what you're doing is supportive, encouraging and helpful of others. And we'll support you with key questions around how to reflect and how to ensure that what you're doing is of benefit to your students, to yourself and to your colleagues in the school. The Code of Professional Conduct is a document that was published by the Teaching Council. There are two versions of it, and the key point in the Code of Professional Conduct from the Teaching Council is that we need to attend to trust, respect, care and integrity in everything that we do. It also talks about the centrality of the teacher, and we also talk about the different types of person, actions, roles that you may have across your teaching career. You'll also, as well as being a teacher, you'll be a leader, a researcher and a learner. And the invitation to come to MIC Thurles, of course, is that you can practice your leadership, research and learning skills in our company at all times. We are a program accredited by the Teaching Council, and therefore when you graduate with your program, you are automatically entitled to register with the Teaching Council. And that registration then opens up a host of opportunities for you across your career. Some of the unique features about what we do on campus or online, as we currently are, is that we keep a close eye on you, and you might not particularly like that point, but I think it's important to know that we're small enough to know when you're missed. If you're missed, we miss you, and it's not school. It's not that we'll be, ringing up your parents or guardians or anything like it. Far from it. You just might get an email from myself or a colleague saying, "Hope all well. Haven't seen you for a few days," and hopefully then that will be enough for you to get back in touch. And we're well aware of all the things that can go wrong. There's nothing that'll shock us. So if you make contact with any staff member and say, "Look, you're having a difficulty," we won't be shocked, but we will respond and we will support you as best we can. On campus, it's a very safe place. Thurles is a small town, which has its disadvantages, I guess. Look, it's not New York, but it also has the advantage of most people know each other, and it is a very safe place, both on campus and in the town itself. And I think the additional on-campus safety piece is that we have to create a safe environment for you to be yourself, and that's very important to us. And you may not always have been comfortable being yourself in school or in your local community, but the magic of Thurles is that we create that safe space which allows you to be yourself and which allows you to learn. And I think that's an important point, and it's something you will develop very early in your program on campus, is the view that you will work with people in a manner that creates a safe space to allow people to ask questions. If you're busy trying to protect yourself, then it's hard to learn. And what we do is we try and make it as safe as possible for you to learn, and then you can give learning your full attention, and you can become, as we say, that person that you want to be and that teacher that you want to be as well. So 434 students currently, nice small size. Everybody knows each other by the first name, lecturer, students, and it's on a first name basis that we operate. You're a part of a 4-year concurrent model. Concurrent means that two things are happening at the same time. In this case, you're getting your BA degree and you're also getting your teaching qualification. And your subjects are vital. You can't teach unless you know your stuff. And the more you're passionate and interested, as I said, the better chance that you can teach that material to a high standard. So everything from first year to Leaving Cert Honours. You have 4 school placements, including special setting, across your 4 years. In year 1, you would spend a week in your primary school or a primary school. It doesn't have to be your primary school. But the real placement starts in year 2, 3, 4. Year 2, you go out for 6 weeks. Year 4 for 12, and year 2, you're out for 2 as well. There is an element, and it's at the bottom of the screen there. The international dimension of your program is also there, in the sense that you can engage in traveling abroad in year 3 for placement as well. And we also make a special effort to engage with special settings. We have a very strong program around special education. We have very good connections with Middletown Centre for Autism, with a whole range of supports. Adam Harrison, as I was just on the phone to him there a while ago. There are multiple ways that we work in that inclusive space. And one of the reasons we work in that inclusive space is because good teaching is good teaching. And if you can be supported to be a good teacher with students who need you, then those skills are transferable to all students. And we also align our program with pedagogy, in the sense that we try to walk the walk as well as talk the talk. So if we have team teaching, for example, sometimes our classes are team taught. The location and networks, I guess it's important to know that in a previous life, I was a department inspector, a senior inspector, and there are other members of staff with past profiles as well, which allow us have a whole range of schools that we can work with to support your school placement. Charlie McGeever is our school placement officer, for example, and Charlie is well known in football and JA circles, but he's also well known in education circles. And again, that's helpful for you, given that school placement is a quarter of your program. We also have the fact that you can support, you'll be supported by all staff. Staff go out and visit and support. Sometimes they're called inspectors. They're not actually, they're placement tutors there to support and help you. And in advance of going out, we'll also look at opportunities for you to practice your teaching, record your teaching, and develop your teaching. And a key point here is that it's teaching practice, not teaching perfect. If it was teaching perfect, you wouldn't need to go to college at all. You have it already. So we're quite open to you developing learning, and you don't fail school placement because you weren't great at teaching. You'll pass school placement because you gave it your best effort, and that you learn from the experience. The only time you'll fail school placement is by lack of engagement. So the international dimension is growing and developing. We have connections with USA, Japan, Australia, Nepal. The list goes on and grows day by day. And that's another space that you can look at over time. So last year we had students, obviously this year we're compromised and we won't have anybody traveling, but last year we had students in Tokyo and Boston. We have arrangements in Perth and Sydney, as well as arrangements in North America, not just the US, but possibly Canada as well. And we do work closely with schools, colleges and teachers in Central and South America. And again, they're opening up possibilities for you. Top left-hand corner is 4 of our students in Boston College, and the middle photo is 2 of our students there on the right who spent some time in Tokyo in an international school. So look, if you're interested in traveling, that's there for you. But I think it's an important point to say, if you're not interested in traveling, that's okay too. This is not compulsory. This is optional. And you know, if you suffer from homesickness, a bit like I often did when I was young, and probably still do to a point, then maybe traveling isn't for you, or else you'd be comfortable traveling for, we'll say, 2 weeks, as happened last year with people going to Tokyo and Boston. But maybe, you know, if you're sick of home as opposed to being homesick and you want to travel, then we're looking at a semester, which would be 12 weeks. So for example, from January to May, you might in year 3 conduct your program abroad, and that you would conduct a program that would be accredited by the Teaching Council and recognised accordingly. So lots to play for, and the good news is I'm sure by the time it comes around, the world will have opened up to you again, and you'll be able to travel freely and safely. So some of our programs are sponsored in the sense of Boston and Tokyo. You go for interview, you complete an application form, and the college pays for everything. Other programs would be less sponsored, but nonetheless you have the opportunity to travel yourself. When on campus, we have dedicated campus accommodation, not enough. As you can see, we've 160 first years, we've 36 single room accommodation, and within that space we have preserved that space for first years only. So if you are coming to us and you need to stay over, as in you can't commute home, as in the distance is too great, then obviously that's something to consider. And my colleague Rob O'Halloran will be able to help you in that regard. So when we're not teaching and learning and assessing, what else are we doing? Well, the best support in Thurles is each other, and that goes without saying. And even while we operate online, we've got WhatsApp group at the moment, we've got other bits and pieces where students are supporting each other in different ways. We have a very open door policy. We're not in any way restricting your attendance based on any grounds or in any discriminatory manner. So it doesn't matter where you're from, who you are welcome. And all you need to do is secure the points, and you can join us. We have clubs and societies, a variety of, not as many as you would find on the Limerick campus because our numbers are small, but we certainly have a strong ladies football and camogie team, and the GAA is quite strong. But we also have a range of other clubs and societies, and indeed if you want to start a club and society, you can do that yourself as well. And this year, for example, the latest club and society initiated on campus was actually a jiving as in the dancing, so there was a jiving club set up. We have chaplain and counsellor available, and both chaplain Father Joe and our counsellor Fiona O'Dwyer are exceptional people who really do a lot of good work, a lot of unseen good work, as you might expect, and they're there to assist and guide as well. And it might be a cup of coffee in the ref, it might be a prolonged engagement over time, but whatever way you engage with our supports, we find that the students are very, very grateful for that support. But as I say, one of the real supports is yourselves. So we have access schemes and scholarships. I'll show those in a sec. And we also have academic supports for Gaeilge, academic writing, mathematics. And the other key point, I guess, is to say that if you're interested in religion, business or accounting, you don't actually need those subjects from a Leaving Cert perspective. What you need is to get the points, and then you come in and you can start those studies in theology, religious studies, business or accounting. The cost factor, again, well, just to start maybe with the scholarships, we'll have 6 scholarships this year of €2,000. There's also TOMAR, which is a scholarship for students coming from different pathways into the college other than directly from Leaving Cert. They might be coming from further education. We also have mature student, and I think this year, not I think, I know, this year of our 160, we have 20 students who are mature students, and they are a great asset to our program as well, and we're very anxious to have as diverse a cohort of students as we possibly can. And we also need to have that diversity from the point of view of reflecting what's happening in our classrooms as well. So the bottom line here really with the cost factor is, I won't go into it too much, is simply this, that it's half the price, and we would suggest twice the quality. If you do your BA program, you're supported across 4 years, you're supported with your school placement. And I guess the big point there is that you're actually learning to teach as you're inside in your education lectures. You step out of your education lecture, you go into your art subject, you're learning about your art subjects, but you're thinking about how to teach it. And there is evidence to suggest that quality concurrent programs produce a better teacher at the end of the 4 years. And that said, if teaching isn't for you, it might be for a while, it mightn't be for life. There are a whole range of other options, obviously, that you can pursue. And there are transferable skills with your program. So, okay, you might be a teacher, school principal, school inspector, work in research, or work as a lecturer with us on campus, or anywhere else for that matter. But there are transferable skills, and I think a classic one is mentoring. You learn how to teach, therefore you learn how to ask questions, therefore you learn how to motivate, guide learners, and all of a sudden those skills are transferable. If you're working in a company, you might be responsible for the induction of new members of staff to whatever location or institution that you are working in. Obviously with Gaeilge there are opportunities with translation and media. Similarly, business accounting, there's enterprise commercial work, being an accountant yourself, and indeed the religious studies also open up opportunities around chaplaincy and community development and counselling. Finally, or nearly finally, the class of 2019 employed in teaching was 88% were employed as teachers, 9% went into others, and 3% seeking work. At the moment, I would suggest that the class of 2020, I think it probably will be over 90% are employed as teachers, and many have many others then, as in the 9-10% remainder are involved in further education. So very, very high employment rate for us. You currently have the wind at your back in that the student population in post-primary schools continues to grow for another number of years. So when you graduate in 4 years' time, there should still be a high demand for teachers. Currently, the highest demand for teachers would be in Gaeilge and mathematics, and we are right up there in that space. But rest assured, business accounting and TRS are very attractive programs, and in turn qualified teachers from these programs are very attractive to schools. So I'm coming to the end, and I guess the line I'm going to share with you is, don't be afraid to be brilliant. Somebody has to be. Why can't it be you? You have 4 years in our company, year 1, 2, 3, 4, and in year 4 you'll fly. But between now and then, folks, be sure to make contact early 2021 if you wish. You have my details. And thank you so much for listening, and I'll hand back to Pat at this stage. For now.
Thanks very much, Finn. I think that was a very clear and precise presentation. We have a little bit of time left, so I might just get you to elaborate on a few things that you mentioned, Finn. I suppose there are kind of a number of unique selling points to all of the post-primary programs in Thurles. Most people now who want to work in a secondary school, they're probably doing an arts degree and then they go on to do a 2-year master's, whereas all of our programs are 4 years in length and you're fully qualified. That's correct, Finn, isn't it?
Yeah. That's correct. Yeah, and it is a significant selling point in itself from a financial point of view, Pat, as you say, and equally from a quality point of view. We think that the combination of learning to teach and learning about your subjects that you're teaching, doing that simultaneously adds to the quality of our program. And I guess another feature which you reminded me of that I should say as well is the school placement in year 4 is a 12-week school placement. And what we found is that schools, in a sense, are looking at somebody at that point and they're saying, you know, in a sense, it's like a long interview. And they're saying, if this person does well on school placement, then I may well hold on to them. And I think that is an added attraction in the current climate, that by the time you finish your school placement in year 4, you could actually be invited to apply for positions. And that's happened to our students this year alone. They've just graduated, virtual again in that sense. And that point was made by them in a few conversations I had over the past few days.
Okay, good point. Yeah, and I suppose it would have quite a strong track record in terms of employment for our graduates in Thurles, Finn, wouldn't we?
Yeah, we have a very strong track record, mainly because of the quality of our student graduates and the efforts they go to on school placement, the quality of our students. They're our ambassadors, and we will frequently get principals coming back saying, you know, can I like lots of institutions, and I'm not saying we don't have headaches sometimes with finding placement, but lots of principals will come back saying, look, superb student last year. If that's the quality of what you're sending out, please send another student our way. And yeah, absolutely, the real sellers of our program are our students. And again, that's the invitation, maybe all going well in the new year, that you might, as students listening in, you might have an opportunity to come and visit us and meet our students who will really give you the insight into the quality of what we do.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. And you touched on it in your presentation, Finn. Maybe for people, maybe further down the line, maybe if they want to change careers, or maybe get into other fields apart from post-primary teaching. That's kind of a unique feature of our programs in Thurles, isn't it? The fact that they have their BA degrees in their subjects as well as their teaching qualification.
Yeah, the uniqueness of that, I guess, is the time frame in which it happens within 4 years, and it does open up a world of opportunities for you as a graduate after 4 years. And I know, as we discussed there earlier, there are, you know, what are we looking at now? You're going to be 70 maybe before you retire, so there will be multiple careers for people. Of that, I have no doubt. But those skills are transferable whether you stay in education. My own pathway was, I was a teacher, I was an inspector with the department, and now I'm working in 3rd level. So I've stayed in that education pool, but taking up different positions and different responsibilities along the way. And I think the undergraduate program is a very strong foundation from that point of view, because the point that was made earlier in the presentation as well might be worth reiterating here, is that you're also learning other skills other than teaching. You're learning about learning, you're learning about research, and you're learning about leadership, all of which are invaluable. And when you combine those with another invaluable piece, which is the notion of how shall I say, the notion of collaboration, and that we teach collaboration, which I think is an important point as well, and that sometimes is glossed over. But teaching collaboration is important in the world we live in. We need to collaborate, and we need to collaborate now more than ever.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. Just another thing from your presentation, Finn, you put a lot of emphasis on school placement. For maybe some of our listeners, could you just elaborate a little bit more on that, and maybe how it actually works in practice? Obviously, you're not thrown straight into the deep end. I presume it's just kind of a gradual process.
Yeah, absolutely. We just met with our first years there, believe it or not. We were talking about January 2022, and they'll be going out on school placement, all going well, in January 2022. And that's for a 6-week program. And what we do is we work with the students, and we first of all ask the students what schools are they thinking of that they may potentially like to go out on school placement for. Notwithstanding that they have to go to a different school in year 4. So variety is important, and that's part of the teacher accreditation, and rightly so, the Teaching Council, that you have a variety of experiences. And we would support you in making contact with those schools. In fact, we're probably one of the few institutions where we take responsibility for making contact, because we're very conscious of you not going to any old school. You need to go to a school that is supportive of your learning, that is supportive of us and what we've been endeavouring to teach you. And that's the first key relationship piece. Then the second relationship piece is we work closely with the schools and cooperating teachers. So ideally, your first week in school, you're not teaching, you're observing, you're working with teachers. We also have a program in year 2 where you would engage in team teaching, and you might go out in pairs, which again, students find very supportive and helpful in the context of learning to teach, and that notion of teaching practice over teaching perfect. And then in year 3, if you go out for those 2 weeks, you may well wish to go to the school you're going in year 4, and that acts as a buffer, and it's like an induction piece for you. And school, when we talk to students about their concerns about school placement, their concerns are about classroom management, about standing up in class, about being taken seriously, concerns about the staff room and engaging with other adults and so forth. And we address all those concerns, legitimate and very, very, very valid concerns, upfront and immediately. And equally, the flip side of it, Pat, is the positives, that we would also celebrate the fact that lots of our students come with some experience of maybe teaching in one form or another, be it as simple as transition year, or be it engaging with family members, or involved in summer camps, Cláistí, Saurig, and so forth. So we draw upon the skill set that you bring already, and then we add to it by creating learning opportunities on campus, and then we practice those in a safe environment out in the schools. And again, we're conscious of the various locations of our students, so we equally have good connections across the country in every locality, so that we can support you being close to home if that's what you wish during your school placement.
Yeah, I think that makes an awful lot of sense, Finn. I suppose maybe for some prospective students who are listening to this presentation, they might start to wonder about assessment, Finn, and maybe assessment of your school placement, your teaching practice, and I suppose just assessment in general. Would you just elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, at the end of your program on campus, and thanks for asking that question, Pat, because I didn't give that enough attention in my presentation. At the end of your 4 years, you qualify with your degree, and it's a first class, a second class, as the case may be. And how do we make those distinctions? Well, those distinctions actually start in year 2, not year 1. So the good news is that in year 1, it's a very important year, don't get me wrong, and you need to put in the foundation for the years that follow. But in year 1, you're very much supported and guided, and the stress of the grade in first year impacting upon your final degree is removed. Yes, you do have to pass your exams to advance, but the grade is not included in your presentation, or sorry, in your assessment. And then when we go forward to year 2, the grades are factored in. They're increasingly factored in year 3, and ultimately factored in year 4. And we would have a whole range of assessment practices. It's not like the Leaving Cert, where a lot of it depends on the exam in Leaving Cert year. Far from it. We would do a lot of continuous assessment. We do a lot of support. We're also aware that, you know, a lot of students may be working part-time, may be under pressure financially, may have other family commitments. And again, because of our approachability and the genuinely friendly and supportive atmosphere that staff have created in Thurles, we're in a position to meet people halfway, and if there's any delay or any concern about an assignment, we can accommodate such as well as best we can. And again, I guess that's the magic of being a small community, that we're able to look out for each other from that perspective as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. You mentioned also in your presentation, Finn, about the study abroad options. What options are available? I know obviously we're in a COVID world at the moment, but maybe for students who are doing the course in future years, what options are available, and what exactly do students do, or what do they hope to gain from going abroad?
Yeah, I guess the simple answer is teaching is about hope, and we're in the business of hope. And within that space, the hope is that we'll be able to travel again and visit other jurisdictions. And the purpose behind that travel is very much centered around building your own confidence. As you know, if you've traveled anywhere, the first thing you learn about is yourself. And that involves deciding whether you're going to go or not, who you're going with, overcoming maybe some of your nerves and your apprehension around travel. And the other thing you learn is you learn about the place that you're visiting. And I guess the third piece is that you learn about home. You learn about where you're from by being abroad. And we're very conscious on building your knowledge, building your self-esteem, building your self-confidence through the act of international travel. And as I say, it's optional, it's not compulsory, but we would have a range of options currently that really play out in year 3 and year 4. And that's why I'm quite confident that it will apply to our listeners and prospective students today. And within that space, Boston College run a 2-week program where you visit schools, you attend lectures at Boston College, and your accommodation is covered, as are your flights. We also have the option of visiting Tokyo, again for 2 weeks, flights covered, accommodation catered for, and you're working in an international school there. So the medium of interaction is English, but you're very much in a Japanese culture. And we also then have connections with colleagues in Australia who actually at the moment are graduates of year 4, if there was no COVID, would be invited to spend a few weeks in the schools in Australia and maybe make a summer of it. So that could happen next year for our current 3rd years. And we're in negotiations as well then with universities and colleges in both Perth and Sydney and New York and Connecticut, I think, and Rhode Island at the moment, where you could spend a semester. So you'd spend 12 weeks of 3rd year, let's say January, April, May, abroad for an extended period of time. And again, that would be a complementarity with our program here on campus. And obviously we'll be inviting more and more guests and students from an international background to come and join us on our campus as well.
Yeah, so there's some great options there. Time is against us, so maybe a final question before we finish up, Finn. For someone a prospective student who is thinking of putting one of the MIC Thurles post-primary teaching programs down on their CAO, but maybe they're a little bit unsure at this stage, is there any advice you'd offer them that they could think about maybe in the next couple of months?
Yeah, I think the advice, I'll go back to my mother, and the advice always is follow your heart. Whatever it is that you want to follow that, and you won't go too wrong. And I just hope that today was helpful in deciding if Thurles is a place that you wish to follow your heart. And I'm very grateful to you, Pat, obviously, for arranging this conversation and the opportunity to share some of what we're doing in Thurles, and equally grateful to prospective students and maybe their parents and guardians who are listening in, and to say, yeah, follow your heart and see where it takes you. And of course, you know where we are if you need any additional information or you have any queries in advance of putting us on your CEO.